All right, on today's TRED Talk, I'm going to give you one of my favorite people management and business strategies of all time. This was taught to me by one of my favorite mentors ever when I was newly a supervisor, learning how to manage people for the first time. Learning how to manage multiple locations for the first time. So it's easy to manage people when you can stand right behind them and like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But when you can't be in 8 places, learning how to manage like that was interesting. So the thing that was taught to me was this. When somebody, it's a management technique, when somebody doesn't do what you want or what you expect, you got to go through a 3-step process for determining whether or not you should be upset as a manager. And when I say upset, whether or not you should be approaching from a disciplinary perspective or not. Here are the steps. So the first is, does the team member understand or even know what the expectation is? So I like to use my Pizza World experience as an example for this, just because I've said it so many times. If you have a new team member and the expectation is that they're wearing a hat as part of their uniform, they come in the store, it's maybe their second day, and they don't have a hat on. If you roll up to them and you start barking at them, where's the hat? You know you're supposed to have a hat. That's the expectation. If they didn't know, if nobody had ever informed them that it was mandatory that they wear a hat, you might look really rude and create a scenario where that person sees you as an enemy instead of a teammate. So first, you have to establish that they understand what expectations are. Really good way to do that is this. Hey Dave, good to see you today. Do you know you're supposed to wear a hat? Yes or no or whatever. Anyway, there's the answer. Now they've been informed. If they say yes, why don't you have it on? If they say no, now they're informed. If they say no reason to be upset with them. You just inform them. If they say yes, then you go to the next step, which is this. Do they have the tools or the skill necessary to meet expectations? If Dave knows he's supposed to have a hat on, but nobody ever gave him a hat, and I get up in his bum about the fact that he doesn't have a hat, but nobody ever gave him a hat. Now I look like an asshole. I'm not a good manager. You set this person up to fail. You didn't put him in a position to where he could be a good teammate, and now you're giving him a hard time for that fact. So the second one is, do they have the skills or the tools to meet expectations? Another function of this might be around when you've taught somebody something and they know what expectations are, but they're not skilled enough to execute yet. So one thing that I did a lot was teach people how to make pizzas. It's not an easy thing to do. Dealing with the dough, it takes some time. So you may have somebody make a pizza. Maybe it's their second week, and they try a pizza, and they may not make it to specs, exactly how it's supposed to be made. If you get to yelling at that person, yelling is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. If you get to getting after them, you're not where you should be. You need to understand where are your teammates at in their growth and journey before you feel one way or another in terms of frustration about their performance. Now, if you've confirmed that they know what expectations are, and you've confirmed that they're capable of and have all the tools needed to meet expectations, then you might be in a situation where you need to verify whether or not that person cares. If they don't care, they shouldn't be on your team. If they don't care, there's no amount of coaching or discipline or anything that's going to get them to go where you want. So you need to deal with that the way you deal with problems that aren't solvable, which is by exiting. So if you're a manager and you're dealing with all these people that aren't executing in ways that you wish they were, go through that process, because you may find out that you haven't expressed expectations clearly enough, or you haven't taught, coached, or given people the tools necessary to win. And if you're not doing those 2 things as a leader, but you're demanding things out of your team, you're not going to have a team for very long, because people hate that. Tell me what you think about today's TRED Talk and this business strategy.